Hello, good morning. My name is Joanna Daniel. If this is your first time watching me, I am founder of Wounds to Scars. We work with survivors of childhood trauma and abuse, and we do that through conferences, retreats, and online courses. Our next retreat is coming up November 26th, 24th to 26th, and you'll be able to sign up for early bird from today. So I did a video yesterday and I wanted to come and talk some more about it today. So if you missed that video, you can go back on my page and you'll see it. Now, I want to give some context. I work with trauma and I see the impact of trauma on the mind and on the body on generations, right? I see how it breaks people physically and mentally and spiritually. And so this topic that I'm talking about really stirs me because, and the video that I referenced that I did yesterday talks about how sometimes people trauma responses becomes religious instructions, how they wrap their own trauma responses in religious instructions and hand it to us as things that we need to live by, ways that we need to order our lives, right? And part of that is because people have not allowed themselves to heal. And because they've not allowed themselves to heal, their pain that they're trying to hide, and the ways that they're trying to hide their pain, they wrap it into religious language, spiritual language, attach a Bible verse to it, give it to you and me, and say, this is how you should live your life. And it's not. Now, one of the ways that this happens is the area of forgiveness. And this really stirs me because I know that there are people who, in their course of trying to heal, they're having to unlearn bad theology. They're having to unlearn things that helps them to really connect with God. And I find that I feel that that's a tragedy. I feel that that's such a tragedy that people have to unlearn. Some don't even try to unlearn. They're just gone. They just won't have anything to do with God, Christianity, anything. And it's because of the people, lots of people with their own pain, their own trauma in leadership that have caused so much damage and harm. And I always advise, get to know God for yourself and not let anybody tell you what he says. Let him be able to tell you himself. So, one of the what I hear that sometimes people will tell you is, if there's for example, if you're dealing with toxic family members, or if you're dealing with the perpetrator of the abuse, or whatever it is that you're dealing with, they just want you to fix it. Just fix it. They don't care. Just fix it. And I heard recently this seminar on forgiveness, where they were saying, just restore, that you can't forgive somebody and love them from afar, bring them back into your life. And I think these people, maybe nothing has ever happened to them. If there's an abuser that has hurt you, you can forgive them without allowing them back in your home, because then you put your children at risk. And would you put your children at risk so that other people can feel good because they tell you that you just need to fix it? I've had people say to me that I forgive and I didn't need counseling. Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. You may forgive something else, but if there's a perpetrator of harm and you just restore them to positions in your life, they're going to keep hurting. See, in the people who are saying just forgive, make amends, just ignore the things that they do, restore these people back to your life so that they can continue to manipulate and control you. These people who are saying this never speak to the perpetrator. They don't know how to hold perpetrators responsible for the pain that they do. They don't know how to use the Bible the way they use the Bible to beat you, to forgive and restore and place yourself in further harm's way. They don't know how to use the Bible to sit with the perpetrator and say, brother, sister, Here is what you've done. And here is what God says about what you've done. You need to change. I'll walk with you to the police station to hand yourself in. I will go with you to therapy. I will drop you off and wait for you, but you need to change this, because if you don't change this, you're going to keep hurting people, and I'm not going to let you keep hurting people. You need to change. You let me know in the comments if you've ever seen that happen, where in the community, people have been held responsible for harm. Or is it just me that see where people are pushed to forgive? The woman who lives at home in an abusive relationship, who is sent home to be a better wife and to submit to a manipulative, controlling, and abusive husband. The person who give an allegation of sexual abuse, and the perpetrator gets to still lead out in church. The woman who speak to pastor and leaders and say, this is what's happening to me, but her husband gets leadership positions and she's not believed, and she's told to be a better wife. Nobody holds perpetrators responsible. And we're failing people when we don't hold perpetrators responsible. Stop harming people by telling them to go restore relationships that are broken and damaged and harmful. Stop putting people in harm's way. You know, if there was when you're walking across certain fields, there's sometimes signs where we walk around the countryside that says, you know, danger, stay out. You never advise people to go to touch that fence or to climb that wall, because they'll get hurt. When you force people or encourage people to stay in toxic situations, that's what you're doing. Because our bodies aren't made to live with trauma for years and years and years. It will start breaking down. And when our bodies start breaking down, then we're told to fast and pray. When it's mental health and we have a complete breakdown, then we're said you didn't have enough faith. And so the victim gets blamed over and over and over again. And that's why it becomes religious abuse. When you victim blame, when you force people to restore relationships that are harmful without holding perpetrators accountable, you're abusing people. That's what you're doing. And so if you are in leadership and you don't understand how to work with someone or how to listen to someone who say, I can't have this person in my life, don't rush to tell them to just make amends. Don't rush to say to them, fix it. Because listen to the whole story. Humble yourself. Listen. Ask questions. Oftentimes it's none of your business anyway. Because you're leading a church doesn't mean that you get to lead this person in this situation. You might not be capable of leading them in that situation. You might not have the tools and the skills to lead them. It might be none of your business what they do and choose to do. You can go pray about it and ask God what you should do. But oftentimes people are so quick to speak, so quick to give advice when they don't understand. I'm going to give you a tip if you're listening and you're an advice giver and you're a person in religious leadership. It's really important to get to know people. And when you get to know people, it's easier then to make suggestions, not give advice, to make suggestions, because then your suggestions will be relevant. It will be based on the knowledge of the person that you know, because you've created a connection with them. And they will know that your suggestions are coming from a heart of love and a place of care for them. But when you give it without that, when you don't choose to connect with people, when you don't choose to have conversations and create relationships with people, and you're giving advice in that environment, then it becomes abuse then. Because you're just misusing power and authority that you have at church to give people advice. All right. So there are many people who are struggling to trust God because the abuse from religious authority. There's nowhere in the Bible that it says that you must restore people to their places of harm in your life. It says forgive. But it doesn't say that people must keep hurting you. Restore that abuser back into your life so that they can keep abusing you, they can keep harming you, and they can keep harming your children, and they can devastate your life. Restore them back. It doesn't say that. It says forgive, but also that we must be wise. We can go to God for wisdom in what's the next step to do. So, if you are here, if you've listened to this replay and you were in a position where you received that, and you've been given harmful advice by people in religious leadership that suggests that you go home, be a better wife, be a better daughter, be a better son, a better sister, and you know that those situations were harmful and they caused you more harm, I want you to know that it's okay to trust what you know. Trust that boundary. Put that boundary in place, that because it protects you and it keeps the relationship safe. And it's okay to go against what they say. Learn and hear God for yourself and what He says to do on these situations. There's too much hurt for us to continue to ignore. Too much pain for us to continue to ignore that people are not using their own trauma responses and making it into religious instructions that is causing more harm to people. So that it is not proper instruction when they're sending you home to continue to be abused, or when they're telling you that you must make amends and not listening to the harm that the situation has caused. You can know that it's abuse and it's harmful when they're refusing to hold perpetrators accountable and hold them to it, and they're not helping you to create safe distance and space from the perpetrator so that you can heal. You know that it's abuse then, and you know that it's not about you. It's their own stuff that is unresolved that makes them uncomfortable with somebody that's setting a boundary because they're not able to. It doesn't matter who or where it comes from, or the height of greatness spiritually that they've attained. When they're sending you into harm, then it's abuse. There's no other word for it. There's no other word for it. That's what it is. So I was really stirred by that. And, it's been going on for a few weeks and I've been mulling it over, and I've not come here and talked about it. I've not really shared, because I see so many people unlearning in order to learn how to trust. When we've experienced trauma, trust is an issue on its own. And when we come to church, when we come to Christ, we're learning how to trust even Him. And when people add religious abuse to the mix, it makes it even more difficult to trust. If you don't know how to manage trauma and listen to people who are in pain, be humble and admit that. And have a source and a system of referral so that you can send people to. If a woman comes to you and say, my husband is abusing me, and there's abuse in the relationship and I'm about to leave or whatever, by the time she gets to you, this has been going on for ages. It wouldn't be one or two times. Refer her to support. Don't shut her down and send her home. Don't give her a Bible study on a virtuous woman or a submissive wife. That's abuse. Help her. If a woman tells you that her husband's using porn and is addicted, don't tell her that if she was a better wife, that wouldn't happen. That's not true. That's abuse. And if you don't know how to deal with that, then you don't know how to deal with that. That's okay. You don't have to know how to deal with everything. But one of the things you mustn't do is to wrap things like that and make it okay for a woman to go home and experience more. That's not okay. If you're that woman listening or watching the replay and that's your experience, and those were the advice that you got, that was not okay. That's wrong. And you can get help. There are many places where you can get help. And what you feel and is experiencing is right and true. And it's not because you were not a good wife or daughter or mother or son or sister. That's not why. It's not your fault. You are not to be blamed for somebody else's abuse and harm towards you. It's not your fault. People abuse and harm because they choose to. They can choose not to. Maybe they might need help to make those choices, but that's not a burden for you to carry, because you can't. It will break you. You can't fix your abusive husband, your abusive mother, father. You can't fix them. People have to want to be fixed. People have to want to be healed, to be healed. They have to want to. You can't do it on their behalf. All right? So I'm going to leave you with that. I might come back and talk about another aspect of it, because this is such a big, broad issue. But once again, if you have experience in this and you're ready to do the work of healing, our retreat is November 24th to 26th. The link will be in the description from today, where you can sign up for early bird. And we're helping to undo, rewire the brain, and rewrite your story. I know from experience that that's possible. Are you ready to experience that too? Have a great day. Thank you, Roxanne.